off today's event, or this week's catch up. Um, Called it global shift. I think looking at it from a human economics, culture, and community perspective, for HEC, or using the HEC approach, there's some interesting stuff happening. Some little teasers of maybe what's to come in society, sort of moving forwards. I think first off, one thing that came across this week, which is really worrying or quite interesting, is this video from the European Union looking at. See if it'll let me play it. So that quote there is really interesting. You got the dollar, the US in a bit of a mess. Obviously, it's sort of going against its partners, and then you've got this situation where it is then the Euro's going, how can we play our part? There's been a lot of negativity around the investment landscape in Europe over the last 24 months. But it's a good point. The fact that it is so negative could be a great opportunity in terms of actually there's a lot of good stuff going on, but it's whether the money is going to be there to support business. So in terms of from a business perspective, just looking at that, where the market's going, is Europe going to take some of the US's limelight? Although I think over this weekend we've had, what was it, Wise, the bank, leaving or you joining the US stock exchange, and the London Stock Exchange or stock market won't be its preferred route to market. So again, more money leaving the UK. I've been seeing this happen with Europe really. So again, like just thinking about that, going, okay, from a UK perspective, being UK businesses, do we need to work more with Europe? What opportunities are going to come there? It may be nothing, but obviously what we've just renegotiating with them. There's this new defence fund that Europe's got, which the UK has access to. It's sort of adding up to like a more European focused narrative potentially. So I just saw that like that video, watched the whole thing, but it just sort of reiterates that same point about the euro taking more of a centre stage in terms of world reserve funds, which means the euro just has a bigger part to play over the dollar, or the dollar takes less of a centre stage. So that was a surprise to see it so vocally put out this week. And then just to look at business really from a few different angles and a few different things to think about. There's a lot of like starting off. There's a really big, slowly but surely. I wouldn't like leave this one unwatched. There's more and more developments in the autonomous delivery drone space. And some great work going on in Africa. There's some great work going on in Ireland. And then there's this company Wing doing stuff as well, but also in America. So I would just keep an eye on that. I'm watching it very closely, seeing how the regulations play out and when it sort of is more available in the UK, because I think that is a really big market, and could be a way of reusing land or space to offer a new service. And potentially, obviously, you've got high value payloads. You don't need much space to deliver that service potentially, relative to other business models. And potentially, I don't know what the upfront costs are going to be, and if there's going to be franchise models. So yeah, I'm watching the autonomous flying or autonomous delivery space. I think just looking at like stepping out like a macro perspective, this loads of European countries, the UK now as well, are all mentioning about fighting, defence, war readiness. I think this sort of just really reiterates, not that I think we're going to go directly to war, but this sort of shift maybe in the UK landscape or the Western world, which has been heavily service driven over probably the last 2 decades, maybe longer. And now we're maybe shifting to more manufacturing. US is bringing manufacturing back on board. UK is investing in our forms of manufacturing. I think we're going to be still more on the technical side. we can't compete on like mass manufacturing. So that's just a really interesting. I just saw the headline, thought that just sums it up really. That everyone's shifting away from service economies to industrial economies, and again, like what businesses are going to be best suited for that, and how is culture going to change? Because if people are if I think it's good because of social media and tech has become a bit of a distraction. So to actually focus again back on making things, actual things we need, rather than just providing a better way to pick up your cabbages, or the tweaks are not really like revolutionary. So this is for me, I think, really good. And again, how is business going to change? If you're in the service sectors, I think technologies are going to eliminate some of those facilities or services you offer, and so it's about really delivering actual value, not just consulting services. So yeah, that's interesting. And then on a completely like flip note, there's a lot of work talk about nuclear. So looking at energy, again, energy relates back to culture, society, the communities we can build. Because without energy, we can't facilitate life really. But uranium, there's a lot of stuff going around at the moment that we haven't got enough of it potentially. Obviously, all these companies are ramping up nuclear capabilities, whether it's energy, nuclear power plants, like uranium for warheads and stuff, but mainly around the energy expansion. And the industry's sort of been not mothballed, but turned off a little bit, and so they're having to ramp up production, and that's going to take time. So there could be a uranium squeeze that could delay the world's efforts in more nuclear-based facilities. So I think it's a really broad picture. Going from the euro maybe taking more of a centre stage. Do we need to start actually taking Europe a bit more seriously? I think autonomous driving is getting there. Autonomous flying and delivery is getting there. So the way we move around will change. Why go places if it can be delivered so frictionlessly? This could open up the whole flying delivery systems, could really change the food delivery market. If you can have a hot meal delivered by line of sight in say 10 minutes, that's a whole new game for the hospitality takeaway world. And if it can be done cost effectively, that's even bigger. Again, it just changes. We may drive less because we haven't got to go pick things up, because things can be there when you want it. You go to pick up an Amazon parcel, it gets dropped off and you're not in, and you miss it and you have to go get it. Whereas if you can let the drone know I'm back home now, and then drops it off again, it just changes how we consume, and again how we meet people. I think that's why events and potentially more focused activities will be more important, because a lot of the day-to-day movement of people could be unnecessary with the new technologies we're going to be building. And then how's our culture going to change? If we're getting more war ready, is it going to be a bit of a reality check? Are people going to become more serious? Is it just going to be doom and gloom and people go the opposite way? And actually the cultures and communities of the UK are going to be like rebelling as such, and just partying because they just want to sort of run away from this war narrative, and just sort of escape. So escape's the best word. So I think there's some really interesting shifts there I've seen this week in just various areas. And that's it really. That's my sort of heck update for this week. And these areas I've come across are all feeding into my thinking about how we offer and help business sort of revolutionize as we go through to 2030. And what does business look like? And that's where heck really comes in. And how can we use it? How can we use heck to the human, the economics, the culture, the community, bringing those four key pillars together to really understand what we give consumers, mainly in the B2C space. Thank you. That's all for this week. I appreciate you watching.